Your Honor, for the sake of time, I'll go ahead and may I ask the witness about the portions that we discussed, and then we can provide a redacted version.
Okay.
Mr. Depp, in this text message from you to Christian Carino, your agent, on August 15th, 2016, you tell him, you go on at some length about Amber, but you say, she will hit the wall hard, 4 exclamation points. And then later down you say, I can only hope that karma kicks in and takes the gift of breath from her. Did I read that right?
Objection compound.
Out loud. Mr. King.
You read that correctly.
And this wasn't the first time that you talked about Amber hitting the wall hard. Let's pull up Exhibit 213, please.
Hitting the wall hard based on the
We'll just take a look at the
accusations
next
that she
exhibit, Mr.
brought. I'm sorry, I was talking. Is that all right?
You'd answer my question. We'll take a look at the next
Oh,
exhibit. Thank you.
yeah. As long as you're happy, sir.
Mr. Depp, this is a text that you sent to Bruce Witkin on February 4th, 2014. The text at the top
Where
of the
am I
page.
looking, sir?
On your screen, please.
I figured that out.
The top text on the screen.
Okay, I didn't know if there was a specific, if it was third from the bottom or somewhere around the corner. What would you like me to do?
This is a text that you sent to Bruce Witkin on February 4th, 2014, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move for admission of this exhibit with just that text displayed.
With the redactions applied and also the identifiers.
Okay.
Yep.
The action
We have that.
identifiers.
We have that ready.
All right, 213, evidence with redactions.
Only 16 that we just read. Move for the admission of this, permission to publish, Your Honor.
It is in evidence,
Thank
you
you.
can publish it.
Mr. Depp, on February 4th, 2014, you tell Mr. Witkin, Amber and I hit the wall hard. You see that?
I do, sir.
And that's the same phrase that you use in your text to Mr. Carino from 2016 that we just read, correct?
They are similar words, but they have different meanings. If,
Can we
I
pull
don't know
up
if that makes sense to you.
exhibit 498, please? Mr. Depp, is this a text exchange that you had with Ms. Hurd on or about October 28th, 2015?
Yes, sir.
And I'd like to direct your attention to the third text down.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 498 with identifiers redacted.
Any objection?
Relevance, Your Honor. May we approach? Okay, sure.
It's still early. I'm trying to get situated around here. Can you all hear me talking on here? Because clearly I've never done a live before and don't know what I'm doing. Also, it's before 10 a.m. and my brain does not work before 10 a.m. Let's just be honest.
Can you pull up exhibit 330, please? Mr. Depp, I'd like to turn your attention to the middle text on this page, which is a text from you to someone named Ryan A. On January 12th, 2015. Do you see that?
January. The second one from the last.
Yes.
January 12th?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is that Ryan Adams, the singer?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, move for admission of defendants exhibit 330. Just plan on asking about that text.
Objection relevance, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
If you're on TikTok, we are on YouTube. That's the preferred method, is watching on YouTube. Just putting on TikTok so y'all know to move to the YouTube live. But we are doing a watch live on YouTube. And this is my TikTok announcement. I mean, seriously, they are the masters of wasting time. As long as you're happy. I'm glad you liked my explanations on TikTok. It's important to explain things how people can understand. Otherwise, it's pointless. If you're watching this on TikTok live, jump over to the YouTube live. Make it easier because I will not be reading the comments on TikTok live. I will only be responding to comments on YouTube live because it'll be easier for me to see them. And also I can respond while they're talking, which on TikTok, I'm not going to talk and respond while they're talking.
can you pull up exhibit 620, please? Mr. Depp, I'd like to turn your attention to text number 40.
Okay.
It's the third one down.
Yes,
This is a text from you to Malcolm Connolly. Is that right?
that's correct.
Your Honor, I'd move for admission of this document with the third text down.
If I just,
I'm happy to approach to discuss if Your Honor would like.
relevance objection again, Your Honor.
Okay, you want to.
Did not mean to put that on the screen.
Redacted.
Again, if you're watching on TikTok, switch to the YouTube live because that's where I will be responding to comments.
Mr. Osborne, if that's coming in, we will allow the contextual text messages as well, if we might take a look, please.
I'm sorry.
We would like to take a look and just make sure.
The
that
YouTube channel is the
text messages
Sojo
are coming in
files.
With the one that you're directing Mr. Depp to.
I'm just going to address the court. That was the text message that I would like to get into. If there, I'm not sure what she's asking. Your Honor.
We'll just go forward with that text message for now. Okay.
Mr. Depp, do you remember last week the jury saw the video of you, as you called it, assaulting the cupboards in that kitchen on Sweetser Avenue?
Yes, sir, very well said.
And that was on or about February 10th, 2016, correct?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll allow it if you can answer.
I don't know when that's from. I have asked for the metadata, I've asked for the date and received nothing.
Okay. This text you sent on February 10th, 2016 to Malcolm Connolly. Malcolm Connolly is one of your security guards, correct?
Yes, he is.
And in this text, you say, "Thanks, dear Mal. I'm just at the point where I feel like I'm gonna puke all the time. Once I get this shit moving and get myself out of her level of shit, I will never mention this cunt's name again, ever again. And the first prick that asks about her gets a warning. Should the single-celled prick decide to push it, he never forgets me and will always be remembered throughout his life as the guy that got his fucking nose bit off, chewed up, and swallowed by Johnny Depp. While I do have some civilized bones in my body, just on a matter of principle, I must force him to watch me fulfill this promise of mangling his motherfucker of a beezer. Love you, X." Did I read that right?
You did.
I'd like to turn to your views on Ms. Heard's career. Can you please pull up Exhibit 195? I'd like to direct your attention to the second to last text from the bottom. This is a text message exchange between you and Ms. Heard on October 29th, 2013, correct?
It looks like it is, yes.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 195 with the appropriate identifiers redacted.
We would object on relevance grounds, Your Honor.
Your Honor, this is him expressing his views on her taking a meeting about a movie. Her career, his views.
I'm going to say this counts as wasting time. So this will be making the timer.
So 195 will be in evidence with redacted with the identifiers.
Mr. Depp, you see the text that from Amber that says, I'm at a coffee meeting now. You see that?
I do,
It's right
sir.
there. So she tells you at 12:41 p.m., I'm at a coffee meeting now. We'll be home soon. And then you respond, holy crap, horse. No goddamn meetings. No movies. Why? Why do you deviate from our agreement? What species of meeting? Fuck it. Just tell me when you get home. Did I read that right?
You did the coffee meeting.
You didn't want her to take the meeting that she was taking that day, correct?
It seems as though we had an agreement, what seems like we had an agreement to do something together. I'm actually asking what species of meeting. So this is not necessarily an angry text. It's just, why do you deviate from our agreement? It's not about her doing films. How do you think she got Aquaman, sir?
You tell her no goddamn meetings, no movies, because you didn't want her acting. You wanted to control her career, correct?
Objection compound.
That's
And I'll-
hasn't really
hold on,
been true,
Mr.
and it's a
Mr.
great
Depp,
guess.
so- all right, yes, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Sorry.
We can move on. Exhibit 394, please. Defendant's exhibit.
Thank you.
Mr. Depp, if you can take a look at the fourth text down, this is a text from you to Dr. Kipper on, it's in the timestamp issue, I believe it was sent on March 8th, 2015 in Australia, timestamped March 7th, 2015. Do you see that?
I do, sir.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of 394.
No objection with the proper redactions of the rest of the text messages and the identifiers.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
394, evidence with redactions.
Like it's
Motion to publish?
All right, yes, yes, sir.
been 5 minutes. We've still not accomplished anything. Come on,
Mr.
guys.
Depp, on this date, right after you had suffered an injury to your finger, you text Dr. Kipper and you say, hi, fucked, man. Had another one. I just cannot live like this. She is as full of shit as a Christmas goose. I'm done. No more. The constant insults, the demeaning, belittling, most heartbreaking spew that is only released from a malicious, evil, and vindictive cunt. But you know what? Far more hurtful than her venomous and degrading, endless educational ranting is her hideously and purposely hurtful tirades and her goddamn shocking treatment of the man she was meant to love, above all. Here's the real deal, mate. Her obsession with herself is far more important. She is so fucking ambitious. She's so desperate for success and fame. That's probably why I was acquired, mate. Although she has hammered me with what a sad old man has-been I am, Callan has done me the most cruel of favors. I'm so very sad. I cut the top of my middle finger off. What should I do? Except, of course, go to a hospital. I'm so embarrassed for jumping into anything with her. Fuck the world. Did I read that right?
Yes, Mr. Rottenborn.
So even as you are ranting about Ms. Furr to Dr. Kipper, even as you are talking about her ambition and expressing your objections to that, you still admit to him that you cut the top of your middle finger off, correct?
Objection compound.
All right, so stay as compound.
You're complaining about her ambition in this text to her, to Dr. Kipper, correct?
I'm realizing that her ambition is far stronger than her supposed feelings for me, yes.
And there's nothing about this text that's trying to protect her.
Protect her?
And
From what?
And you tell Dr. Kipper, I cut the top of my middle finger off in this text, correct?
It's just the way it was worded. It doesn't mean that I actually literally cut my finger off after, at the age of 12, finding the only thing that gave me peace, which is playing the guitar. Very unlikely. Why didn't I start lopping off digits when I was 13 then?
Just the way it was worded. Now, Miss Heard wasn't the only one who had a problem with you can take that down. Miss Heard wasn't the only one who had a problem with your drinking and abuse of alcohol, correct?
Objection compound.
All right, I'll state objection if you
Miss
want.
Heard wasn't the only one who had a problem with your drinking, correct?
So if anyone had a problem with my drinking at any time in my life, it was me. The only person that I have ever abused in my life is myself.
In fact, you tried to hide your drinking from your daughter, Lily Rose, didn't you?
Objection relevance.
What's the relevance?
When your nerves are pushed.
Sure, you
Can
can-
we approach her?
Pardon.
Oh, okay. 10:09. Here we go. This is another one on the books for this dumbass wasting everybody's time. Hi, Samantha. I mean, we're already at over 10 minutes of this guy wasting time. Unbelievable. I told y'all on TikTok, if this was a drinking game, we would not make it to the morning break. The amount of shots and mega pints we would have to drink every time this guy paused. Going through the text messages, yeah, it's terrible. I mean, of course, we always send stuff in text messages that we never expect anyone else to ever read or see. It's private messages. So, yeah, I would feel incredibly violated. And also, you have to keep in mind, they're reading this to people that don't know them personally. So they don't know his sense of humor or the full context that it was in. And, you know, of course, people take things out of context all the time.
Can you pull up Exhibit 207, please?
I'm glad we can have this watch party and fill in the slow gaps.
Can you scroll down, please?
So we'll put him at 10:11 back in session.
Thank you. Mr. Depp, I'd like to direct your attention to the last text on this page. It's a text from you to Kevin Murphy. He was your estate manager, correct?
He was.
This is a text from you to Kevin Murphy on January 21st, 2014, correct?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of that portion of Defendant's Exhibit 207 with redactions.
With the identifiers redacted, that's fine, thank you.
I mean, seriously, the guy's been up there for 45 minutes almost. How many questions have we heard? Dead ass.
Permission to publish?
Yes, sir.
If you're watching on TikTok, switch
And in
to
this text, to
YouTube
Kevin
so I
Murphy
can
on
answer your
February-
comments.
January 21st, 2014, you say, just trying to get over my shocking discussion with Vanessa that lasted 5+ hours. Vanessa's your former partner, correct?
She's the mother of my children, yes.
The mother of your children, that's right. And then you say, I feel ill and have invested my guts into some side corner. Now, Lily Rose hates me because she thinks I'm drinking, and she's right. But I can't admit, or I fucking die in her eyes. Thanks for that one, Vanessa. Come to master in main house. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
Can you pull up exhibit 1092, please? Mr. Depp, is this a picture of you passed out in a chair during daylight hours?
Again, isn't passed out, that's a very specific term. Sleep could be one, passed out.
Let's try it this way. This is a picture of you in a chair, correct?
That is correct.
Move for the admission of 1092, Your Honor.
Any objection?
I'm relevant, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'm trying to move this along, and when we stopped with relevance,
Do you want to lay a foundation? I just don't.
this is a picture of Mr. Depp. We've introduced another, on Thursday, another picture of that.
What is the date of this photograph? I'm sorry.
I'm trying not to waste the court's time. That's fucking funny. Again, if you're watching on TikTok, switch to YouTube Live. That's where I'm responding to comments. It'll be easier for me to respond to all of the comments that are being made on YouTube instead of trying to go back and forth, because every time I touch the phone, it wobbles. That's not fun either. So. But if you switch to YouTube Live, I'll be able to answer everyone's questions all in one spot. I mean, seriously, y'all.
Can you take that down and put up exhibit 470, Michelle, please?
I'm giving him another 2 minutes wasted for that shit. Samantha Jordan is on it with the comment section.
Is the bottom text on this page a text exchange or text message from you to your personal assistant, Stephen Duders, on September 3rd, 2015?
That's what it looks like, yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of this exhibit with just that text and the appropriate redactions. Exhibit 470.
Again, relevance, Your Honor.
I'll allow this one.
Thank you, Your Honor.
With redactions.
Oh, the pettiness. Like, how many questions have we heard, honestly? 5, maybe? Max?
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Depp, in the effort to move this along, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm going to start with the word main bits, which is 5 lines down. You write to Mr. Duders on September 3rd, 2015.
Sorry, guys.
Main bits needed are Xanax and Adderall, and I want no judgment from Kipper or Debbie. Kipper means Dr. David Kipper, correct?
That's correct.
And Debbie means Debbie Lloyd, your sobriety nurse, correct?
That is correct.
Just found out from Joel last night how much I spent on having Kipper and Debbie around. Millions and fucking millions, mate. All the while, Debbie just hung around Broad, BCH, and gave me new meds like every 2 weeks. She was on set maybe 4 times. Wow. And 5 money symbols. Sorry, just how it is. Did I read that right?
You did?
Can we pull up exhibit 587, please? This is a recording, Your Honor.
I already have 5787A, so this is 587B.
587B, Your Honor. The excerpts to be played are 1940 through 1953.
Like, I should fucking hope so. You
and
went to law school, buddy.
2304 through 2329.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
587B evidence.
And you can be clean and sober and we fix all of our problems. I know.
In that clip, Mr. Depp, you tell Ms. Heard, I'm never getting clean and sober, correct?
It sounds like to me that yeah, it's either that or I have never been clean and sober.
Thank you. Let's play 2304, please.
In the big picture, the big scheme of things, it is nothing but hurt us. And why? Because the code rules doesn't make it easier for you to see how clearly that is.
You gotta stop with coke.
All the coke you've done today and all the booze you drank today,
By the way,
has it helped you? Has it helped us?
Just got the coke.
Has it helped us?
It's okay.
Yeah, I know, because yesterday you were 1,000 times better. Yesterday the
I'd like to turn now to a few more of your words around the time that you went into detox, about how you viewed Amber's role in that process, Mr. Depp. Can you please pull up plaintiff's exhibit 120_40? And Your Honor, 120_41 was admitted the other day, but I'd like to introduce this as a separate exhibit.
So 120B, and that would be _40, you said 40?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Any objection to that?
If I may, just came up.
Okay.
Mr. Depp, while they're looking at that, is the second text from the bottom a text that you sent to Amber's mom, Paige, on August 19th, 2014?
Yes, that's correct.
And this is when you were either in the middle of or finishing up your detox process from oxycodone, correct?
That is correct.
All right. No objection?
No objection.
Okay. 120B in evidence. You want to publish? Or as it is, correct?
With the other
That's fine.
text messages redacted.
All right.
Oh, with you, okay, sure.
Okay, publish.
And in this text message that you write Amber's mom on August 19th, 2014, you say, "My dearest Paige, how unbelievably kind and pure your message was. I am beyond thankful to have you in my life. There is no luckier man on this earth to have the strength that Amber gives me and the full support of each of you individually that I've gotten helps immeasurably. I don't need to explain the horrors to you. You know as well as I. What you do need to know, that your daughter has risen far above the nightmarish task of taking care of this poor old junkie. Never a second has gone by that she didn't look out for me or have her eyes on me to make sure that I was okay. YN words are truly feeble in attempting to explain her heroism in a text. Suffice to say that I have never met or loved a woman or a thing more. She has the strength of 1,000 men, and that is due to no one or nothing but you, sweetheart. Thank you. I love you. Your son, Outlaw. Did I read that correctly?
You did, sir.
I'd like to take a look at another document, Exhibit 272, please. Is this a text message that you shared, a text message exchange between you and Amber the following day on April 20th, 2014?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, permission to, or move for the admission of Exhibit 272 and ask for permission to publish.
With the identifiers removed, we have no objection.
Remove the identifiers. 272 in evidence as redacted.
Now, Mr. Depp, you testified on Thursday that you saw nothing wrong with referring to Amber as a lesbian camp counselor when she was trying to get you to stop using drugs. But let's take a look at what you say in
She had
this
used
text.
that term before.
In this text, Mr. Depp, you say, just to let you know that I'm fine, my angel. I miss you, of course, but this was the right thing to do to speed up the process. I love you more than life. Yours, Steve. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
You can take that down. Now, you've brought this lawsuit about the op-ed specifically, but for years prior to the date that Ms. Heard wrote the op-ed, there were numerous negative news stories about you. You'd agree with that, correct?
Objection, compound.
I'll sustain it to compound.
For years prior to 2018, when Amber wrote the op-ed, there were numerous negative news stories about you that were released into the public, correct?
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll allow it, you can answer.
By 2018, you saying?
Correct.
Yes, it all started with Ms. Heard going directly to a court to get a TRO, which is with a bruise on her face and paparazzi. That was the sort of beginning of the ball rolling down the hill and gaining momentum.
There were lots of negative stories about you prior to May 27, 2016, when Amber went into court, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Now it's 2016, I'll allow it.
There were plenty of negative stories about you prior to that date, weren't there?
So I've been in the racket of Hollywood since 1984.
Mr. Depp, I'm asking you a yes or no question. There were plenty of negative news stories about you prior to May 27, 2016, correct?
From 1984 up until then, they're both. So of course people write negative stories.
Sure, and you just testified to the jury that it all started on May 27, 2016. So that's why I asked you to clarify about the negative stories prior to that date. And you'd agree that there were, correct?
Can you be specific about the stories? Of course there have been negative stories.
Permission to approach, Your Honor?
All right.
Your Honor, I have here numerous exhibits in one sort of compendium, all press articles about Mr. Depp, if I may approach.
Oh my God. Okay, this is more time going on his time wasted clock over here.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Your Honor, in having received this, I would like to preemptively lodge a hearsay, lack of foundation.
He hasn't got him in evidence yet. Are you moving?
No,
these to
I'm
evidence?
happy to approach, but they're certainly not being admitted for the truth of the matter asserted, but I'm happy to approach and discuss.
Mhm.
Okay, well, while they're wasting time, someone asked why I cover my face. So I always obscure my face partially because, well, there's a multitude of reasons, but like I go to trials to cover cases with people that are, it's a safety, basically, it's a safety issue. And I don't care to be known on the internet, which I know is like crazy to some people, but like I want my content to be about the information being provided and like the community as a whole, and less about like me as a person providing information, but it's also primarily safety reasons. Also adding more time to their time wasted slot, like seriously. Eventually, maybe I'll show my face, but as long as I can get away with not doing it, I'm going to try to not do it. Okay, the glasses, as someone that has to wear glasses all the time, yeah, I got questions. But for an example of like why I cover my face, like for season 2 of the podcast, which, you know, I did a podcast, like I started out with podcasts as far as this goes, because you don't have to show your face. But season 2 is on a murder trial where I believe the wrong person was charged and in court for the homicide, and the person who I believe committed the homicide was literally sitting next to me during the trial. So, you know, when that season comes out, I'll be glad that that person, you know, can't necessarily be like, oh, is that the girl that was sitting next to me at court? Or no, I can't tell. Like I said, it's all a safety thing. Like, holy shit, y'all. It's been nothing but this all morning. What the hell? Someone said, what is sitting next to me? Oh, my guitar? Is it bothering you? Hold on. Oh, it's the other guitar. Okay, well. It's early, y'all. I'm on my first cup of coffee. I'm not awake yet. It'll be better after lunch break, I swear. Sitting next to me at trial. Well, we'll get into that on season 2. Season 2 of the podcast. It'll be both on the podcast as well as YouTube. You'll get a very, very in-depth look. The defense attorney for the case is going to be my co-host for season 2, and you'll definitely know who we think did it. And by the way, that person is also missing. So, like, MIA. Don't know where that person is right now. So that's lovely. Yeah, sorry, I'm moving a little slow. It's still early for me. But yeah, look how much time's wasted, y'all. Like, how many questions have we heard? I think it's still 5. There's not a new judge. Someone asked it on TikTok. If you're watching on TikTok right now, it'll be easier if you go to YouTube Live to watch it, because then it'll just be easier for me to answer all the comments. Whereas when I try to answer comments on TikTok, the phone moves, and it'll just be easier if you want to partake in the conversation and respond to comments to switch to YouTube Live. Otherwise, we'll just leave TikTok Live up as is. But seriously, what the fuck? This break started 6 minutes ago. They waste a lot of time. Like, I've never seen so much time wasted. And I know, of course, you have to you have tons of sidebars. That's normal. That is normal to have sidebars. It is normal to make objections. The attorneys have to make objections. It's their job. You need it on the record that you objected to something in court. I get it. But this shit right here, like, why do they not have their evidence tabbed, their exhibits tabbed, notes? It's not just look at this whole team. There's a whole fucking team of lawyers over here. And nobody knows. Like, it takes them 5 minutes to find the stuff that they want to ask a question on. It's fucking ridiculous. Poodle and me on the same page. Like, come prepared. I get that, like, you're asking questions and you might think of something, like, because an answer makes you think of something else and you're like, ooh, let me find something. I get that. Like, holy shit, y'all. Court started an hour ago.
Mr. Depp, if you could please take a look at the stack of articles in front of you.
Yes, it's a stack of hit pieces.
Yes, the first one is
generated
called
by
the,
Ms. Heard's publicity team.
Mr. Depp, we're gonna try to get through this as quickly as possible.
I'm just
I'm gonna ask you about the first one, but we're gonna talk about them. The first one is entitled, it's from The Guardian. You see that?
Apparently drunk.
Yes, and this is an article from November 15, 2014, entitled "Apparently Drunk Johnny Depp Cut Off at Hollywood Film Awards Ceremony," correct?
That's what it says, yes, sir.
The next article is an article from May 7th, 2016. It's entitled "Johnny Depp, Friends and Family Seriously Concerned About Him. Here's Why."
Yes,
Correct.
how did they know?
The next article from May 1st, 2017, before Ms. Heard filed for a restraining order, a year and a half before she published, this would be after May 1st, 2017. The headline is "Johnny Depp Has a Clear and Epic Sense of Entitlement, Ex-Managers Say." Published in the Hollywood Reporter, correct?
I was in a lawsuit with them, so.
The next article from May 10th, 2017 is entitled "Johnny Depp, A Star in Crisis and the Insane Story of His Missing Millions." Did I read that right?
That's straight from the same lawsuit, sir.
The next article.
Uh-oh, we got the attitude in.
2017, a year and a half before the op-ed was published, says Johnny Depp reportedly drank heavily and was constantly late on the new Pirates movie set. Did I read that right?
You did, reportedly.
The next
These are
article,
all
also
hit
from
pieces.
May
These are
10th,
drafts, sir.
2017. Mr.
This is a
Depp,
pathetic attempt.
Mr. Depp,
Whoop!
please just respond to the question I'm asking you.
What's your
The next
Mr.
question,
Ottenborn?
the next document, an article published in Vanity Fair on May 10th, 2017,
Yes.
is entitled "Johnny Depp's Financial Woes Might Sink the Next Pirates of the Caribbean." Did I read that right?
You did, I don't know.
The next
how my
article,
financial woes would do
May
that.
25th, 2017, a year and a half before the op-ed was published. An article entitled, "Where Did It All Go Wrong for Johnny Depp?" After a string of flops and a ton of bad press, Johnny Depp's star power looks as wobbly as Jack Sparrow on a plank. Did I read that right?
You read that very, very well.
The next one, Hollywood Reporter, May 27th, 2017. Headline, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Diminishing Returns of Johnny Depp. Did I read that right?
You certainly did. Hollywood Reporter were very nice to me at the time.
July 12th, 2017. Why are all of Johnny Depp's movies bombing at the box office? Did I read that right?
You certainly did.
November 4th, 2017. A year and a month before Amber published the op-ed. Headline, Johnny Depp allegedly showed up drunk to movie premiere, reports say. Did I read that correctly?
Reports say. This is hearsay.
June
Not-
21st, 2018, 6 months before the op-ed was published. Vanity Fair article, The Real Reason Johnny Depp Used an Earpiece on a Film Set.
I think that was
Did I read
explained
that
in court the
correctly?
other day. Oh, you did, yeah.
June 21st, 2018, 6 months before the op-ed was published. A Rolling Stone article entitled The Trouble with Johnny Depp. Multi-million-dollar lawsuits, a haze of booze and hash, a marriage gone very wrong, and a lifestyle he can't afford inside the trials of Johnny Depp. Did I read that right?
You did. You should read the article.
And the last one, June 22nd, 2018, the Daily Mail, vodka for breakfast, 72-hour drug binges, and spending sprees that beggar belief. Alison Boshoff reveals why Hollywood's reeling over what's being called Johnny Depp's career suicide note. Did I read that correctly?
You did. Who's Alison Boshoff and how does she know?
Mr. Depp, you can't name a single actress
Oh, shit.
who was benefited in her career by coming forward and stating that she was the victim of domestic violence, can you?
I'm sorry. what was
Objection
that?
calls for
I'll
speculation.
sustain the objection. Next question.
When Amber made abuse accusations against you in May 2016, fair to say it got a lot of press attention, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
When Amber made abuse accusations against you in May 2016, you became aware that it got a lot of press attention, correct?
Very quickly, I became aware.
And she became associated with those abuse accusations that she made against you in May 2016, correct? To your knowledge.
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
You became associated with those domestic abuse accusations that she made against you, correct?
I think that's clear.
And you understood that she became associated with those same accusations that she made, correct? You testified to that.
Well, she had a choice. I didn't.
And you've talked about the immediate impact that those accusations on May 27th, 2016 allegedly had on your career, correct?
Yes.
You testified earlier in your examination on direct that when Amber made those accusations in 2016, you said you lost, quote, nothing less than everything, correct?
That was correct, sir.
But you didn't try to get the restraining order lifted in 2016, did you?
I don't. If she wanted a
It's a
restraining
yes or
order-
no question. You didn't try to get the restraining
No,
order.
why would
did you?
I?
And you didn't have a divorce trial where you could respond to Amber's accusations of abuse in 2016, did you?
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
I'm asking if you had a trial. That's a fact.
I'll allow.
You didn't have a divorce trial where you could respond to Amber's accusations of abuse, did you?
No, there were no charges pressed against
You
me.
chose
She didn't
not
tell
to-
the police that I had done anything. She didn't mention my name.
And you didn't have a California divorce judge decide these facts, did you?
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain the
chose-
objection.
You chose not to try to clear your name at that time through any sort of legal proceeding, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objection.
And you chose to sign a divorce agreement in which you stated that Amber had not made any false statements about you for financial gain. We looked at that, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
Asked and answered. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
In fact, you waited until Amber wrote the op-ed in the Washington Post in December of 2018 to file a lawsuit against her, correct?
That is correct.
can you pull up plaintiff's exhibit 2, please?
It was the only time that I
Permission
was
to
able
publish,
to
Your Honor?
speak and use my own voice.
You chose not to sue the Washington Post in this lawsuit, correct?
Objection, relevance, asked and answered.
It's not been asked and answered.
Hasn't been asked and answered, but I'm not sure what the relevance is.
You chose to sue only Ms. Heard and not the newspaper that published this article, correct?
Objection, compound.
All right, I'll sustain as a compound.
You chose not to sue the Washington Post, correct?
Oops,
Objection,
sorry.
relevance.
I'll sustain the objection.
You only sued the author of this article, Amber Heard, correct?
Which seems she was the one making the statements. Yes, I had the opportunity to fight back.
Permission to publish exhibit 2, Your Honor.
All right, exhibit 2 is already in evidence. So
Mr. Depp, you realize that the only job for this jury to decide,
Yes, sir.
its only job is to determine whether this op-ed and this op-ed alone is defamatory.
Objection calls for legal conclusion.
I'll sustain the objection.
And actually, it's not even the
This
op-ed,
is
it's the
the
3
only
specific statements, but
writing.
okay.
That's the subject of this lawsuit that you brought, correct?
Same objection.
It's facts, Your Honor. He
I'll
solely brought the
allow that
lawsuit.
question. I'll allow that question.
This is a version of that story of the op-ed that I've never seen. The one that was published before, the only one I've ever seen is the one that was published prior to this. They changed the title because they were in fear of trouble.
Well, I moved to strike that last testimony, Your Honor.
Um,
Whether it's the online edition or this edition in the paper, this article is the only statement.
Yes, it is.
The only publication of anything that's the subject of the lawsuit that you brought, correct?
Objection, asked and answered.
I'll sustain the objection.
Oh my God, this should go
This
towards his
op-ed,
wasting
Mr. Depp,
time
does not
points.
discuss any of the details of your relationship that we've seen in texts and emails and recordings over the past few days, does it?
Objection, compounded, asked and answered.
I'll sustain both objections.
Oop.
In fact, this article doesn't contain any details of your relationship with Ms. Heard.
No, you didn't.
Objection, asked and answered.
I'll sustain the
The
objection.
only thing.
Oh my
this article
God,
states
this fucking guy.
Is that in 2016, Amber made accusations of domestic abuse. Correct.
It was clear that she made allegations in 2016.
And she did that when she
Yes.
obtained a restraining order against you in 2016, correct?
Yeah, I suppose, yes. Yeah.
And even if you disagree with the accusations that she made against you in May 2016, it is a true fact that she did make those accusations in 2016 and got a restraining order against you, correct?
Objection, compound, asked and answered.
Sustain the objections. Next question.
God bless.
To your knowledge, the words that Ms. Heard used in this article about getting a restraining order against you in 2016, those are true, correct?
I'm sorry.
words that
Objection,
Mr.
misstates the
Yu-
document.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
Can you go to the third paragraph? Look at the third paragraph, please. The statement that then 2 years ago, Ms. Heard became a public figure representing domestic abuse. That is true, isn't it?
I'm not sure what we're looking at.
Objection,
Oh, I see.
calls for a legal conclusion.
So I'll sustain the objection.
It's
I'll
It's not.
sustain the objection.
And in 2016, for the first time publicly, Ms. Heard accused you of domestic abuse, correct?
In 2016,
Yes.
that's correct.
No further questions.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, why don't we go ahead and take our morning recess for 15 minutes?
Thank
Not
you,
do any outside
Jesus.
Research and do not talk to anybody about the case, okay? We'll come back in 15 minutes.
Morning break. Like, we haven't even done anything this morning. Homeboy's not asked accomplished nothing. Jesus. Oh, look, she learned to stand for the judge. How cute. So considerate of her. Week 3, we've learned to stand when they say all rise. Okay, so I forgot if she said 10 or 15-minute break. But we can catch up on some shit talking about this situation for the next 10 minutes. If you are on the TikTok live and you want to partake in the conversation, switch to YouTube live because that's where we will be having our little situation in the making. Yeah, honestly, they're lucky with that 2-hour lunch. What's everyone's thoughts so far while we have a 15-minute break here? And I'll put you all back on the screen over here. He is getting agitated. So here's the thing, and I said this last week too. When he's making these snide remarks that everyone is hysterically laughing to and they're making all the TikTok rounds, they're hysterical. We love those. However, those can play not in his favor. It just depends on how the jury's going to take all of those comments. Now, you heard them laughing to some, so there's that. But he does have to keep himself in check because they're trying to piss him off. Like last week when they're like, is this your signature? Is this your signature? Is this your signature? Is this your signature? Yes, that's hella annoying, duh. But they're wanting him to lose his cool. So in moments like that, he really has to keep it in check that he doesn't lose it when they're asking these questions. And so the yes or no question, so they should have done this fucking 2 weeks ago. When you're asking a question, you can say it's just a yes or no answer, yes or no, and make the person respond with only yes or no. And then when they do redirect and his attorneys get to question him again, they will go back to the questions where he was not allowed to tell the whole answer or they made it seem one way when they believe it was another way. They'll ask those questions and get the answers that they want out into the courtroom. So a lot of the time you'll see attorneys say like, it's just a yes or no question. That way you can't give all the little side thoughts and side comments. You just have to answer yes or no. And that's the first time that they really started saying, well, it's just yes or no. It's just yes or no. Like they should have been doing that 2 weeks ago. They definitely, he needs to watch that. I don't know what day she is testifying because, you know, it seems like they boosted Johnny up the roster. And typically you save your best for last. So when they said they were calling Johnny, I'm like, are they done? Like, did they just bump him up the roster because they thought they needed the momentum? Or did this is it? Like he's going to go and they're going to rest their case. Great question. I don't know. Now I looked at his witness list and it looks like pretty much all of his witnesses for the most part have gone. So this might be the last part for them. Okay, so I saw that in the questions on YouTube. Someone was asking about the tabloids. So this is a defamation case. So they're these tabloid. First off, okay, let me just backtrack. There's defamation cases, obviously, where someone makes a statement about you as if it's a statement of fact, and then it hurts your reputation. Y'all know this by now. But the thing is, when you're a public figure, it's a little different. You know, like you can get away saying more things about a public figure than you could just, you know, a regular business owner or whatever. So he has not only the elements of defamation, but the elements as a public figure, which makes it a little bit more complex. So there's that issue too. Like, it's hard. To me, I feel like this case for him is not about money. It's about getting his side of the story out there and getting everything out in the open and just airing all the dirty laundry that he's had to keep to himself for almost a decade. And I think that that's really what matters to him. As far as like, will he win? I mean, it's kind of a crazy defamation case, but I mean, a jury can do whatever they want to do. They're supposed to follow. They'll have jury instructions that tell them, like, this is how the law works. This is evidence elements, whatever. You go through that and then decide based on that. But of course, you know, juries can get together and be like, you know, I don't pull an OJ or pull a Casey Anthony and be like, eh. So you just never know with the jury. I don't like to predict what I think because there is nothing you can do with the jury. As far as like elements of defamation though, and with him being a public figure, and it's hard. It's yeah. And also another thing too is like with defamation, you normally have to say the person's name, but they have what's it called, implied defamation here, and it's obviously implied to be him. Let's see what we got on TikTok here. So someone on TikTok pointed out that the defamation case is against her, not the tabloids. Okay, so that's one thing that they're going to bring up a lot, because typically you would sue both who published it, because they published that statement of fact without verifying that it was a fact, as well as the person that made the statement. And that's what makes this a little bit more unique, is because he did not sue the Washington Post. Now, the reason why they're bringing up these other bullshit articles is because they're trying to show that he already had a negative reputation before her op-ed came out. That's what they're attempting to do with all these random ass articles that they're mentioning. But again, if you're on TikTok, it'll be easier if you go to the YouTube live, the Sojo files, and comment there, because that's where I'm mainly responding. Okay, let's see. I do think Johnny has won in the court of public opinion. Trying to catch up on the comments. Bear with me. So here we go. Talk about this. Okay. So what they're going to do, they're going to bring up other headlines and say like, hey, they're already writing bad things about you here, yada, yada, yada. So she didn't hurt your reputation. But also, it is weird that he did not sue the Washington Post. And again, this is what I was talking about on TikTok with distract and mind games that go on in a courtroom. It really is not about who's right or wrong or who's innocent or guilty. It really is about who tells the better story and who's more likable. I hate to say that, but like, you know, that has a whole lot to do with it. And if they can get you distracted, if they can get you thinking about these other things, even stuff that you're not supposed to use when you're making a decision on this case, it's still in their head. You know, like, for example, Gina Deuters got up there. She told her side of the story. She got dismissed. They struck everything. So nothing she said can be used when the jury's making their decision. But that doesn't mean what she said isn't in the back of their minds. Now, they're not supposed to use it. They're not supposed to consider it. because she was dismissed and all that was struck from the record. However, they still heard it. So what else do we have here? I don't know what this team's doing, to be honest with y'all. They are trying to rattle him. They're trying to piss him off because they want him to lash out so they can be like, got him. And, again, the funny comments are hysterical. I am living for the stand-up comedy show that we're watching, but he's got to be very, very careful. He's walking on thin ice with that. Yeah, she dresses unique. Well, and another point too about this. So, like I said, when you're a public figure, there's more things people can say about you because you're a public figure without breaking all the legality down at that. And yeah, I mean, it makes it hard, and you don't want to have a bunch of frivolous lawsuits and a bunch of tabloids you're not going to get anywhere with that anyways. He did catch himself there, which I'm glad that he did. Okay, how do you think the jury's reading Amber's facial expressions? Okay. Again, you never know with the jury. You never know. Because you don't know if, again, here's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to hear things objectively. You're supposed to look at how the rules are. You're supposed to make your decision based on, that's how it should be in a jury room. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it is, though. So they're obviously not showing us the jury for safety precautions. And I'm pretty sure they're probably watching her facial expressions. And the thing is, if there's a bunch of clips where she knows she's not on camera, where she's laughing. And if the jury's in the room, they're seeing that. They're seeing her, laughing, joking, and then frown face immediately. I bet that they are seeing it. And it's not, I hate to judge how people look during cases because everyone reacts differently, and they've been dealing with this for years. So where you're thinking they should be super upset or super emotional, they've already dealt with this for years, plural. And so their reactions aren't going to be the same as ours. Someone just hearing it, it's fresh to us, whatever. So I try not to judge them too much for that. But her expressions are just so obviously disingenuous. My God, it is too early for me. My ADHD meds have not kicked in. That it's hard. Surely to God they notice it. Let's see what else. Take a shot for every eye roll she does. I about pissed myself when they said, would you say you're much bigger than Miss Heard? And Johnny was like, nope. The look on her face was like, get it in check. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. Hysterical to me. That shit is so fucking funny. I agree. She comes off so fake to me. It's there's little things that she does too. For example, with Gina Duders, and if you haven't been watching the whole time, that was a witness for Johnny that got dismissed. She was talking, all of a sudden you see this commotion going on with Amber's side of the courtroom. They take this phone up, they show the judge, whatever. Gina, have you seen clips from this trial? Yes, I've seen clips from this trial. You get dismissed, strike everything. Well, what happened with that was someone in the front row behind Amber was passing notes and passing their phone up and tweeting during trial, big no-no. And the judge called them out on that. Was like, I was under the impression that this note passing going on was because that was someone helping with the legal team, not her girlfriend or whatever you want to claim that she is. So I think that even the judge has noticed some manipulative things that have been going on with this whole situation. I'm hoping the jury sees it too. I mean, you have to keep in mind the jury, they're just, say 12 random people just like us. Like pick 12 random people out of this comment section. I mean, that's a jury. So, yeah, I mean, it could go either way. Will he get to clarify with his attorneys? Yes, or this question right here. So when they're done with cross, they'll do redirect, and Johnny's attorneys will come back and ask questions to get more of a clarification. So like if her attorneys said like it's just a yes or no answer, or they didn't let him elaborate on his answer, Johnny's team's making notes of that. And when they do their redirect, they go back to question Johnny after her team's done. They will ask those questions and get the answers that they want and let him fully answer them the way he wants to answer them. And like they will try to redirect the mindset after this cross to back to where they want it to be. So yes. And that's another thing too. That's why it's like, when they ask a question and he gets upset, I understand why he gets upset. I understand why he's frustrated. And I understand that those answers sit with the jury for several days until it goes back to redirect. But he's got to keep it cool because he will get the chance to fix it when they're done questioning him. Yes, she was. She was like, I posted one thing on TikTok. She's like whispering to her attorney, and then she's like, immediately gets it together. Let's see here. Yep. A lot of the stuff that they're trying to say is definitely for a distraction. Okay, this is a good question we can get into. How can they prove without a doubt that it was for sure it was her and not someone using her phone? Are we talking about like the evidence that's being displayed or the case? Because this is going to be like with evidence in the case, this isn't a criminal case, so it's not going to be, beyond a reasonable doubt. It's going to be by the preponderance of evidence. And but if you're talking about like, how do we prove that she sent those text messages? Is that what whoop, break over. Let's get back to the situation here, guys. Okay, so this question. Okay, with the witness list, I call the witness list the wish list because just because someone's on your witness list doesn't mean that they're actually going to testify. So it's hard to gauge it. If you're on TikTok and you're wanting to engage in like the comments that are popping up, like the full conversation, you want to go to YouTube Live, and the YouTube channel is the Sojo Files. Because it's easier for me to respond to comments on YouTube Live than it is on here, on TikTok.
All right, seated and redirect.
Samantha Jordan is winning the comment section.
Good afternoon, Mr. Depp.
Hi.
Could we please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1?
Swear to God, she's winning the comment section.
Mr. Depp, is this the version of the op-ed that you recognize?
Yes, ma'am, that's the one.
I would move Exhibit 1, Plaintiff's Exhibit 1 into evidence and ask that it be published to the jury.
Any objection? All right, one in evidence.
That's a fucking first.
Mr. Depp, when did you see Ms. Heard's December 18th, 2018 op-ed for the first time?
It was, presented to me by one of my team, I can't remember, but it was within a day or so of it, a couple of days of it having been written, I believe.
And what was your reaction when you saw it?
Shock.
Why were you shocked?
Because at that point, it had been a good solid two or so years of this, of the accusations, of the allegations, planted firmly on my back, so something that I had to carry with me. I just couldn't believe that it was continuing. That it was continuing in such a way that it was clear that the more bad press, the more hit pieces that came out on me, the more of these stories of Ms. Heard and her righteous chase against me. It wasn't stopping, and it's difficult to once you've chewed on it for a couple of years, it becomes pretty difficult to swallow anymore. As it was completely untrue.
How did you feel when you saw the op-ed for the first time?
Objection asked and answered just now.
My prior question was about his reaction.
All right, I'll allow it.
Hurts. Yeah, a blinding hurt. It was like somebody had hit me in the back of the head with a 2x4. And as it said, I had no ability to speak prior to, because even if I had done an interview to try to explain myself, it turned into a hit piece. So my mouth was shut. And this was the opportunity where I thought, something's got to be done. It's just got to be done. I couldn't take it anymore.
When did you first learn that Disney was not going to recast you in the Pirates franchise?
It was probably 2 or 3 days after this op-ed appeared. One of my crew, again, I don't remember who had sent me, excuse me, had sent me a piece that was in some magazine, and Sean Bailey, who was the number 3.
Objection, hearsay.
I don't know yet. I'll overrule it at this point.
We're back on redirect. So his attorneys.
Continue, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Sean Bailey, who was the third in line, as I suppose, in the upper echelon of Disney, just basically said in the
Objection, hearsay.
Your
What
Honor,
Sean Bailey
this
said.
is about him
It's
learning
in
about this.
article.
It's not for the truth.
It is the truth. She's
Maybe
asking.
on approach.
Okay, I'm gonna try to answer these questions verbally out loud as long as I can. We're on redirect. So her attorneys are now, first off, let me write this down. 11-12, wasting more motherfucking time. This is redirect. So now his attorneys are asking him questions again, not her attorneys. So let's see what else we got over here.
Mr. Depp, could you please explain to the jury who Sean Bailey is? I think you were starting to.
Yes, I'll try again. Sean Bailey is the number 3, or was at the time. I don't know what his status is anymore, but at the time he was the number 3 sort of upper echelon of Disney top dogs, and Sean Bailey was quoted as saying that
Objection, hearsay.
Mr. Depp, where was Sean Bailey quoted without getting into what he was quoted as saying?
he was quoted in whatever the article was that was brought to my attention.
And can you please just clarify what article you're referring to?
I don't know what the journal it came from. I don't know what magazine. I don't know any of that, so I don't know. I don't know who did the interview with him.
Objection, lack of foundation.
Overrule objection.
Mr. Depp, how did you feel when you learned that you were being dropped from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise?
Well, it was the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. It was a character that Captain Jack Sparrow was a character that I had built from the ground up, and was something that I of course put a lot of as you do with all characters, but you put a lot of yourself into the character. So, and also having worked on these films with these people and having added much of myself, much of my own rewriting of the dialogue and scenes and the jokes and whatever they are, I didn't quite understand how that after that long relationship and quite a successful relationship, certainly for Disney, that suddenly I was guilty until proven innocent.
Up until the point that you learned that you were not going to be in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise any longer, what was your intention with respect to future Pirates movies?
The last thing that I knew from I say there's the producer team, there's the creative team, and there were many discussions. I, in fact, had been approached to take part in writing
Objection,
Pirates
hearsay.
6.
Mr. Depp, what was your intention with respect to future Pirates movies, aside from what you've been asked to do?
My feeling was that these characters should be able to have their proper goodbye, as it were. A franchise can only last for so long. There's a way to end a franchise like that, and I thought that the characters deserved to have their way out of to end the franchise on on a very good note. I planned on continuing until it was time to stop.
Mr. Depp, last week, Mr. Rottenborn asked you about a quote where you said you wouldn't come back to the Pirates franchise for $300 million and a million alpacas. Do you remember that?
I do.
When relative
That's why the
to
alpacas
when
are out front.
you would no longer be a part of the Pirates franchise, did you make that statement?
I think long before I made the statement, there was a very deep and distinct sense of having been betrayed by the people that I had been working with, the people that I had worked hard for, the people that I had delivered a character to, that they initially despised, but somehow, even I stuck to my guns with the character and it seemed to work. So,
Do you recall when specifically you made that statement about the $300 million and the 100 alpacas?
Objection, ask and answer.
Overruled by that.
I believe I made that statement during a press conference in the San Sebastian Film Festival when I was asked about my situation.
And what year would that have been, if you can recall?
I believe it was last year or so.
Can we please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 804? Mr. Depp, do you recognize this document?
As soon as my eyes go on, I hopefully will. Seven on the brothers, yes. 4 and 5, yes.
What is this document?
I don't quite know. I'd have to read it to get some understanding of it.
Could we scroll through so Mr. Depp can look at the rest of this document?
Oops. Oh, there it goes. It looks, this appears to me to be some species of contract.
Is this a contract that you entered into?
With Disney.
Shit.
Your Honor, I ask that Plaintiff's Exhibit 804 be moved into evidence and published.
Any objection?
I think it's outside the scope of direct or cross-examination.
I'll overrule on that objection.
Okay, and I'll reserve other objections to portions of the document, depending on what she's gonna ask about. It could be hearsay.
But she's asking to put it all into evidence right now.
Well, then I would object to that at this point.
Oh my god, this dude. This dude. Okay, here's another point for him wasting fucking time. It's honestly unbelievable. They have spent more time wasting time than asking questions. Like, we have sat silently more than we've witnessed court proceedings today. Unfucking believable. Okay, I love you for this beat, McGee. Like, come on. Also,
Better
is
get
she,
her down and copy
I'll
that.
ask that later.
Mr. Depp, if I could direct your attention to section 6 of the contract, which is on pages 8 through 10 of the document. Mr. Depp, what does this reflect?
It appears to be the agreement of parts 4 and 5, compensation and merchandise.
Mr. Depp, at this time, how many other franchise films had you been a part of?
At that time, Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland. I'm so pathetic when it comes to knowing what movies I've done. I'm sorry. I just, I don't watch them. I feel better not watching them. I couldn't, what was the question again?
How many?
Order in the court, or I will have you removed. Understood?
Oh, we're getting spicy
How many
today.
franchise
Okay.
films have you been a part of at the time of this contract?
There was a third. There was Pirates. There was, with Warner Brothers, Fantastic Beasts, and Where to Find Them, and then Crimes of Grindelwald.
And how does the compensation reflected in this contract compare to that, what you receive for the other franchises that you've been a part of?
Objection Foundation.
He just established that he was a member of other franchise films at this point.
And he hasn't established a foundation that he knows how he's compensated.
I'll overrule the action if you answer.
I believe the compensation, obviously, all of the pay and back end and all those things are negotiated by agents, lawyers, and this was comparatively, this is my salary on that film. And other salaries were of a similar status, I suppose.
If I could direct your attention to the 12th page of the document.
Yes. Cool.
Is this your signature, Mr. Depp?
Yes, it is.
You can take this down, thank you. Mr. Depp, I recall that you testified that you don't know during a given period what movies you were working on. So my question is, who would know that?
Well, first and foremost, is my agent, or agents. I do recall a couple of the other films that I made after. One was initially called Richard Says Goodbye, and that was, they changed the name to The Professor, and during all of the nastiness over the past 6 years, that film went straight to pay-per-view. There was
Me neither.
another film called Minamata. It was produced. It was my company, Infinitum Nile. We had developed about Eugene Smith and the Minamata, the mercury poisoning of a very small fishing village in southern Japan. There was that one, and then there was a film called Waiting for the Barbarians with one Mark Rylance and Robert Pattinson. Those were 3 films that I'd done.
Mr. Depp, during your cross-examination, Mr. Rottenborn showed you a number of text messages between you and Paul Bettany. Do you remember that?
I do.
Could you please explain to the jury what your relationship with Mr. Bettany is?
Mr. Bettany and I had, we'd met while I was making a film called The Tourist in Venice, and we were, it was an instant connection. He's born and bred in the UK and has that English sort of dry, kind of obtuse, abstract sense of humor. And that was one of the things that we connected on, was taking, even if it was a difficult or unpleasant situation, we would, do our best to deal with it with humor, as opposed to just a constant complaint or whining or anything of that nature. We dealt with it with humor, albeit sometimes, as these are private texts that have been, there was a lot of, in context, it's important to know that none of it was ever intended to be real, and the language that's used, which I am ashamed that that has to be spread on the world like peanut butter. For example, the text that is about burning Ms. Heard it's directly from Monty Python, in the sketch about burning witches, and then drowning the witches. This is a film that we'd all watched when we were.
Okay, everyone. One of our TikTok friends has put in the comment
In
the comment section of TikTok that we need to switch to Sky.
Abstract humor.
I can't do it until after lunch, but if you're at home, you can do it because Sky is showing the documents and is 20 seconds ahead of this. So I can't do it until after lunch when we get back on live, but if you're at home, apparently Sky is where it's at.
Of course not.
Based on your own observations, how would you describe Mr. Bettany's relationship with Ms. Heard while you and Ms. Heard were together?
Abominable.
Why was that?
Ms. Heard despised Mr. Bettany mainly because we had become such close friends, and for her he was a threat, and would take me away from her with regard to if Paul Bettany was getting the attention.
Okay, everybody, I was not watching the comment section on TikTok.
That
I'm only
was
watching this, so only caught a
that
piece
was
of it. Let me try
the-
to find it.
That was a showstopper. It would cause all kinds of unpleasantries, to the point of where when we were on the island.
It says Sky, SKY, shows
with Mr.
documents.
Bettany, his wife and his 4 children. Ms. Hurd and Mr. Bettany got into some debate over
Sky
lunch,
News.
and
Cocker saving the day on this
remember
one.
that whenever Mr. Bettany tried to make a point, she would talk over him, and then it started to get quite rude. She got mean, and she got loud, and then I believe it was his 18-year-old boy who was getting ready to go to a really very bright, brilliant kid. He entered the conversation because this was something to do with what he'd studied in school, and he knew quite a lot about it, and he voiced his opinion.
That's why I didn't know what Sky was. That's great. That's great to know.
Ms. Hurd demeaned that young man to the point of where he burst into tears and walked away. It was at that point that I had spoken to Ms. Hurd and said, that's just unacceptable. That behavior is unacceptable. You have no right to demean that boy. You cannot always be right. You should try being wrong sometime because you might learn something. And then I asked her to, I thought it was best that she leave the island.
Could we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 245? And Mr. Depp, I believe this is another text message with Mr. Bettany that you were shown on your cross-examination. And directing your attention to the text message at the top of the page from May 30th, 2014. Do you recognize this text message you sent to Paul Bettany?
Yes, I do.
And could you please describe to the jury what you are conveying to Mr. Bettany in this message?
This again this is I suppose an example of the way that I write and express myself. That is to say, you stretch your situation out to give him the understanding that you're drowning, essentially. So everything that I say here is, in fact, an impossibility for the human body. I would have been, well, I would have certainly at least had to be rushed to the hospital for a stomach pump. There's a line here that, if you don't mind, I say that when I say I'm done, I am admittedly too fucked in the head to spray my rage at the one I love, for little reason as well. I'm too old to be that guy, but pills are fine. Pills that were referenced were the pills that that I was coming off of, and they were the only thing that could give me some semblance of the same numbing effect that I searched for as a child with my mother. And saying that I was too messed up in the head was, it's kind of like if you've been told since you were a child that everything you do is wrong, and that I shouldn't have even been alive, or whatever, joyous little treats that my then very sick, very ill mother brought to me. Reserve was well aware of my past, my childhood, therefore was very adept at knowing exactly which buttons to push. So at this point, I felt like, well, I was that little boy again in my head, like, I guess I am incapable of doing anything right. I guess I will never be happy. I guess that
TikTok friends, can someone please go copy and paste the Sky link on the YouTube live for us? We're having trouble finding it.
But it's confusion, it's nothing that you can, it's nothing that anyone could sustain for any length of time. It's nothing that anyone should have to sustain for any length of time when you're being demeaned, berated, judged, and treated like a lesser animal. I'm treated as if I'm only surrounded by yes men, and that I'm a bad father, and that these things were endless. They were endless, and there was no call for them. It's hard to understand why someone that is supposed to love you could be that cruel. And there's times where you just say, okay, I'm gonna try to not have I won't fall for the argument. I won't participate in the argument. Because I knew where it would go, into her circular pattern of psychological abuse.
Mr. Depp, what do you mean when you use the term blackout in this text message?
Blackout. Yes, because I'm talking about 1,000 Red Bulls and vodkas.
Her facial
1,000 of them.
expressions, like hot
2
fucking
bottles of
damn.
champagne. No voodoo days, half a bottle of whiskey. Those things, had that been all absolutely true, would have not only caused a blackout, but it would have caused a severe alcohol poisoning, overdose.
I'm trying, LB.
I
I'm
would have
trying.
gone immediately.
We only made it
Fell
this
through.
far because of your
I would
help
have
in teaching me what the
taken
fuck to
myself
do
out, I
here.
would just
So shout
die.
out to you.
So, blackout is when someone gets so drunk on alcohol, essentially on alcohol. But the pills that I had my addiction, that I was addicted to, the oxycodone, which are very, very powerful opiates. Two of those would knock me out. That is to say, so there's blackout, which is you can be a person can be wide awake and wreaking havoc, or having a giggle in a blackout and never remember it. But when you've taken the prescription medication, it knocks you out. You are certainly not well, you're not in any condition to, first of all, swing at anyone. You're out. You go on what's called the nod, and then it takes you away into sleep. It's just very deep sleep, and I found that much more accepting than having to hear constant badgering and insults.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 153, which I believe Mr. Rottenborn also showed you last week.
Yes.
Do you remember seeing this during Mr. Rottenborn's examination of you last week?
Yep. Yes, I do.
Now, I'd like to show you the full text exchange, which is in Plaintiff's Exhibit 120. And since there's been a number of text messages drawn from this document, this would be Plaintiff's Exhibit 120C.
Which page would that be, or underscore?
This would be for.
What page would that be? Again, nobody, her team doesn't know what the is going on.
Mr. Depp, do you
Unbelievable.
recognize these text messages?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor, I'd move Plaintiff's 120C into evidence and ask that it be published to the jury.
All right, 120C in evidence, publish.
Mr. Depp, who are you communicating with in these text messages?
In fact, though it says Marino, these are texts between my ex, let's say the Vanessa Paradis, the mother of my children. And this is again, abstract humor that we're conveying back and forth to one another. This was all, it was a joke. It certainly wasn't about Miss Heard. We didn't speak of her much together.
Do you recall what you were talking about?
I don't recall who it was. I don't recall who it was, but it was someone who had
Somebody who can backtrack, snap us a pic of this.
for some reason, I think it was, I think the possibility is that 2013, it might have been, we had a nanny at one point, who in fact, we had, we found her, she was caught stealing, even from my, at the time, my, maybe 10, 11-year-old boy, Jack, who was bright enough, because he knew it, he was bright enough, he had a $5 bill that he wadded up and put on his desk in his bedroom. And when he came home from school,
Your Honor, I'm just going to object on relevance. The question was, who was this about?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay,
Mr. Depp, I'd also like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 143, which I believe Mr. Rottenborn also showed you last week. Do you remember seeing this email exchange? You could scroll down as well, please. Thank you.
oh yes.
Who are you exchanging these emails with?
Stephen Duders, who was at the time was my assistant.
And what are you and Mr. Duders discussing here?
Gobbledygook, essentially. It It was, as I remember, it was a day of work, and there were times when I would send a text to Mr. Duders because he's the worst in typing. I would send him a text in jest, of course, and to get a rise out of him, to get some reaction out of him. So, you know, I would tell him things like, you know, I woke up and I'm bleeding profusely from the inside of my ear. Is that normal? You know, it would be things like that. So this is exactly the same kind of thing. I think we were even referencing The Hangover, the film The Hangover, in part of this, about the Mike Tyson and sort of bizarre circus that I was telling him that I had in my room, and that there was blood everywhere. It was a joke to just sort of throw him off, worry him, and make. Ultimately, it was a joke, and we were laughing about it.
Mr. Depp, what if any portion of this email exchange is literally true?
We're all set to leave here at approximately 1:30 p.m. Hope you rested well.
She's gonna roll her eyes one too many times. They're gonna get stuck in her fucking head.
Messages that Mr. Rottenborn showed you, where you refer to the monster, and this is in the context of in conversations with that don't include Miss Heard. Do you remember seeing some of those communications?
Yes.
First, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 427, please, which is a text message from you to Jerry Judge. How are you using the term monster in this context when you're communicating with Mr. Judge?
The monster could essentially, the monster could, it could be two separate things. The monster in her eyes was my,
Objection as to what the monster was in Ms. Heard's eyes, Your Honor.
Right, and this is stays to her eyes if you want
Okay.
to ask, rephrase.
the monster was defined by Ms. Heard as this out of
Same
control
objection,
thing.
Your Honor. What Ms. Heard's view of the monster was is not for this witness to say.
Mr. Depp, how do you know how Miss Heard defined the word monster?
She said the words to me.
And what words did she say with respect to the term monster?
It was her go-to phrase,
This comment right here.
and it was the go-to phrase for me being, again, you know, as has been embellished and elaborated, the drug use or the drink or the whatever, but the monster was, for me, and again, you start to think about these things and you put it in your own head and what the real context is. The monster was sobriety. The monster was trying to be sober because I was plagued by these requests to stop drinking. But the monster could also be if a conversation, if something starts as a conversation, which would quickly ramp up to quite an antagonizing argument, if I responded to her if I took part in the verbal back and forth where people do in life end up saying obscenities, screaming obscenities at one another, or calling them names, or
Story of my
when it
life.
gets to that point.
ADHD is always winning.
I mean, the monster was just for me, was just the guy who actually was dumb enough to continue to take part in arguments that would ultimately get nowhere.
I know she is not fake crying. I know she is not.
So that is.
There must have been something in her
one of the
eye.
reasons why I would try to get away from Ms. Heard and not participate in her debates and the knowledge that she wanted to express to me, and circular and painful insults that were
Was she fake crying just then?
constant. It was rapid fire. So I stopped participating in those. I tried to walk away. I tried to go to another room, even to the point of locking myself in rooms so that she just could pound on the door and scream. That was clearly a mistake. I should have never fallen for that or taken the bait to allow myself to get into a conversation which led to an argument, which led to physical violence. It was not going to be good, so I just walk away, which drove her through the roof.
So, Mr. Depp, why would you use the term monster when communicating with people other than Ms. Heard?
Well, because I heard it all the time. I mean, it was, as I said, that was her go-to. The monster's here, the monster's back, monster. So I would refer to the monster again in terms of with Elton or with friends Patty Smith. The monster was like with Elton. I think it was just the monster was I let the monster creep back in or something. That is sobriety. That's what I'm telling him is I have failed, and I've had a drink, or I've been drinking. But my drinking again was not to excess. I would never went into blackouts or anything of that nature. I was disappointed in myself for not staying there. Although when you are constantly in a position to be harassed by your beloved other, what else could I do? I wanted to be numb. I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to feel that, especially from one who had professed such love for me, but gave me mostly hatred.
Your Honor, I'm about to switch subjects, so if this would be a good time for the lunch break.
All right, we started a little later, so I don't mind going a little further.
Okay.
If you want to do that, go ahead.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 161. I believe Mr. Rottenborn showed you this last week.
The fact that his name is Rottenborn fucking kills me. What a perfect name for this situation.
Yes.
Representing her,
Do you
Mr.
recognize these text
Rottenborn.
messages as between you and Miss Heard?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Why are you informing Miss Heard that there's a book called Disco Bloodbath?
God bless it. Here we go again with this book.
When I texted her, 2:30 in the afternoon, I was in a bookstore, a used bookstore, or a bookstore that had a lot of first editions and things like that, which was sort of a passion. And I saw a book called Disco Bloodbath, and I thought it was a funny title. I can't say that I was necessarily referencing anything other than I thought it was a funny title, Disco Bloodbath. It sounded like a sort of a bad slasher movie to me. So I said, just thought you should know that there exists a book called Disco Bloodbath. That's all. And then she said, we need that book. And then she asked me, is it about last Friday night by any chance? And then my answer to her, how can you make me smile about such a hideous moment? The fact is, this is a lighthearted exchange that she's even saying, we need that book. Then she makes reference to last Friday night, which I don't recall what last Friday night was or whatever, so I just how can you make me smile about such a hideous moment? A hideous moment could have been some grotesque thing that we saw on television. It could have been anything. I don't recall now, but all I was saying is, and it even says at the end of my text, that's all. Disco Bloodbath. You know. So this was not we were not butting heads in this exchange whatsoever. It was very lighthearted.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to show you Defendant's Exhibit 375, which was another document Mr. Rottenborn showed you last week.
Yes.
Could you please remind the jury what's reflected in this photograph? This is from Australia. On March 8th, I believe it was, where after my finger had been
Big facts right here.
the tip of my finger had been taken off.
Thank you. This is our friend who suggested Sky.
I was in such shock. I just started writing on the mirror, on walls, and basically what
Let me try to
these
sit like
were
Amber. Hold
for
up.
me to Ms. Heard were reminders of moments in our past where I had caught her, where it was revealed to me, even by her, that she had been caught in lies that she had told me. So that's what these are in reference to. The red, the lipstick that says call Carly Simon, call Carly Simon, she said it better, babe. In reference to you're so vain, I am imagining. But that's not, I didn't, the Carly Simon message is not mine, that's Miss Heard's.
So let's just break this down a little bit. Who wrote the text that's in black on the mirror?
That would be me.
And what does that say?
She loves.
Yeah, please.
Like naked Hollywood or something. An artist of, I don't know what the rest says, but what that is.
I know y'all saw
Miss
that
Heard
facial
had come to me,
expression.
And she was seemed to be seriously concerned about how she was being portrayed in Hollywood.
This comment right here.
Concerned that because she had done films where there was kind of arbitrary nudity and things of that nature, she had voiced to me.
Oh,
that she
here comes an
did not
objection.
want
We're
to
passing
be,
notes back there.
she didn't want to be looked upon that way in the industry. She wanted to be able to
Homie, right
escape
here.
the chains of being objectified by the Hollywood system, which is a difficult thing for any woman, certainly, unfortunately. But she asked me, how can I avoid being stereotyped as the beautiful blonde who gets her breasts out or goes naked and has to strip people in movies, and I gave her my advice.
Oh, this is fucking hilarious.
on how to avoid it, which I thought was pretty accurate, and her ambition was stronger than what she received from my advice. Is what it was. My advice that I thought long and hard about, because I did care for her and I did understand. I didn't want her to have to do that. And early on in my career, I was put in a position where, I could have gone on, I could have been just a guy who was on a TV series for a couple of years. And then, what was going to be left of me would be on lunchboxes and thermoses and posters and Teen Idol things. And I fought that tooth and nail, because that's not who I was. So I had experienced something similar in terms of being looked upon as something that you're not. And so I fought against it in the very beginning, and it worked out for me for a while there. And I was giving her basically the same advice.
Now, Mr. Depp, you said that you did not write this portion that's in red here that says Carly Simon said it. Call Carly Simon, she said it better, babe. Is that right?
Yes, no, that's not mine.
How do you know that it was misheard that wrote that?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Overrule
It's been a minute since he made an objection.
There are first it looks like it's trying to match my handwriting, but my handwriting is a lot more of a scribble. And also there's another photograph of this where she went in to make sure that there were that the red was
After
more
lunch break, when we break to eat and come back, I
please
promise I will
nothing
switch
down
to
there.
Sky.
Where
Objection, Your Honor,
someone
lack of
what
foundation. He's referring to exhibits. that-
But shout out to Tiff B, who is filling us in until we do.
I'll state the objection now. Next question.
Do you recall whether the lipstick writing was on the mirror when you wrote in the black paint?
No, of course not. No.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to show you one of the text messages that Mr. Rottenborn showed you concerning the injury to your finger. So if we could please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 398. This is a text message from you to Dr. Kipper that I believe Mr. Rottenborn showed you on cross-examination. Do you
All the
remember
damn
that?
sticky notes, but we can't
Yes.
tab our evidence
And
or
why are
write
you
notes on what it
apologizing to Dr.
is.
Kipper in this message?
They've literally accomplished not shit this morning.
I believe that at that point in my brain and in my life and in my heart, I was completely and utterly frustrated with how I was living my life, and I had had some disagreement with Dr. Kipper, and I was apologizing to him for having gone against his wishes, or gone against his advice, let's say.
What did you mean when you said I have chopped off my left middle finger
It
as a
is.
reminder that I should never cut my right finger off again?
It's my way of dealing with a painful situation. It's my way of dealing with
I don't know why the
situation
audio
where I
is like
resort to
10
humor.
seconds ahead of the video,
So,
but we'll
I
get
had lost the tip of
resituated
my
after lunch break.
right finger,
Here we go.
and so I'm saying to him,
Tiff B
I've
for the
knocked
win,
off
y'all.
my left finger to remind me never to cut my right finger off. That's not, I mean, when you say I got my finger cut off, or I cut my finger off, or this or that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you did it yourself. And again, I'm a guitarist and have been since I was 12, and that was the only piece that I found in my life at the age of 12 where I knew what I knew who I could escape into music and learn music. And the last thing, I'm a guitar, I mean, I still play the guitar it's still my first love, aside from my children.
Uh-oh,
Still
she gonna
my
get
first
jealous of that
love.
guitar now.
There's no
Get you another
reason in
swig.
the world why I literally would cut my own finger off to ruin this beautiful opportunity that I was given at 12 to learn how to play the guitar. And again, why would I
Big
start
facts on
lopping
this
off
one.
digits in my 50s? If I as Mr. Rottenborn suggests, I'm a kind of, walking tantrum. When I was younger, why wouldn't I just start chopping off fingers or some kind of, why would I ruin the only thing that was really good in my life aside from my children? So when this finger went, the tip of this finger went,
By the way, if you play
the only thing I
guitar,
could think
assuming
in
he
my
plays
mind
normally, this hand would be the hand that
was,
he's
thank God it
playing
was
the chords
the
with.
left hand, which is
Second hand.
right.
Oh, well, he's explaining it right now.
That's where the fretboard is. If you lose a finger from your left hand, I'm not Django Reinhardt, who had only two fingers.
Look at me and Johnny on the same page there.
If I lost a finger from here, I would have had to relearn how to play the guitar all over again. It's just not the case. Even though I say I've chopped my finger off, it's like saying, I bumped into a knife or something.
His art is very good.
I'm not admitting to, I think if I was going to admit to someone that I actually chopped my finger off, this text wouldn't be as it is. I think it would have been a long explanation as to why I got to that point. But no, I can't take responsibility for what I now call Little Richard, my chopped finger.
Oh shit.
Mr. Depp, at the time that you sent this text message to Dr. Kipper, had you told him what had actually
This is
happened
hysterical.
to your right finger?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And when did you tell him that?
He was aware of it that day, the day that it happened. Malcolm was aware of it. Jerry was aware of it. Stephen was. Everyone was aware of it. And of course, yes, when I went to the doctor, the emergency room, I lied to them because I didn't think it wise to cause a ruckus, implicate misheard, and then have 8 million stories out in the press
That
about
side eye though.
how she thrown a bottle of vodka at me and it smashed all the bones in the tip of my finger and cut off about, well, there's all sliced down through. You've seen the pictures. It was pretty horrible. It was, and I didn't want to put her in that situation. I didn't want to put any of us in that situation. I didn't want to put the film in that situation. That was why I said it was crushed in an accordion door, and it was only the second doctor who actually told me what he was.
Your Honor, hearsay?
I haven't finished my sentence. How do you know?
Uh-oh.
Thank you.
We're getting salty.
The emergency room doctor was first. The next day I went to see a specialist, a hand surgeon, and this was still in Australia. And he had recognized that my excuse for the finger being gone.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay, what the doctor conveyed to him about his thoughts on the finger injury. That's classic hearsay.
Your Honor, it's in the context of medical treatment.
No, I'll sustain that objection.
Your Honor, I think this is a good stopping
All
point.
right.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our lunch recess again. Do not do any outside, any outside discussions, and don't talk to each other about it, okay? We'll see you after lunch, okay?
Okay, so.
Everybody in the courtroom can still be quiet, please. Court is in session.
Oh shit, my bad. Hold up. Sorry, Judge. This right here is fucking hysterical.
All right, so we can take a recess till 2:20. Just for planning purposes, though, I plan to go to 5:30 today since we had a late start. So just let you know, and I know you plan on having a remote witness, which is fine. Just let us know so we can set that up. But also make sure your remote witness knows that this is a courtroom. I don't expect them to be any outside noises or anything else going on in direct attention. And also if they would know that if there's an objection for them to hold off answering until that's resolved. That goes for all remote witnesses when we get to them, okay? All right, see you at 2:20 then. Thank you.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break for lunch. We will come back when lunch is over. What I will do is I will share my whole computer screen so that we can add in pictures. So I'm going to switch to Sky News if I can get that working so that we can see stuff. But I'm also going to try to share the whole screen so that I can add pictures. Now, if you would like to email me pictures that you want shown, or like if there's something that comes up at the time that you want to send a picture to, then you can send it to me on Instagram at the Sojo Files Podcast, or you can send it to me via email at thesojofiles@gmail.com. I'll pull those pictures up and I'll just share my entire screen so that we can watch trial as well as discuss other like little tidbit pictures that we might want to add in. So we'll do that post lunch. So we're going to break for lunch because, you know, I get hangry and I need to go get another large cup of coffee and maybe a smoky treat. And then we will reconvene for lunch. So again, I'll share my whole screen post lunch so that we can add pictures in that we want to add into our side discussions going on. And you can email pictures to thesojofiles@gmail.com, and we'll do it that way. So any questions before we break for lunch? Because like I have the witness list, and if I was sharing my whole screen right now, I could bring it up on here. So I'll get it situated where I can do that. Let me pull this witness list up real quick. And I know TikTok can probably see that. So, okay, real quick before we break. Now that's Amber's witness list. Well, shit, where did I do with his? He did not have that many. Well, it doesn't look like she has that many either. But yeah, I'll be able to share that post lunch. So we will reconvene. Any other questions? If you hit subscribe, it should give you an alert when I get back on live. It should. It should. But like I said, I'm going to go wolf down a quick snack and then I will get reset up with Sky News. Thank you. I think it was Tiff B who suggested that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'll get reset up on all these monitors with that version because they are showing the documents and not lagging 20 seconds behind. And then I will also get set up where I can pull up pictures and documents on the side that you guys want to send in just for little tidbits that we need since we can't do that in the comment section. So we'll just get all set up for the ultimate little shit show watch party here. Oh yeah, here, Beat McGee just did that. I'm honestly technologically challenged, so Beat McGee's had to help me as well as Clint with some of how this stuff works. Someone said, how do I get tickets? I live here and want to go. The line starts apparently at 2:00 in the morning to get you have to have a wristband to get in. They only allow so many people. And apparently the line is literally starting at 2 a.m. So it might be hard to get in, but if you want to go, just, get you some Red Bull and get ready to rock it like you're in college again and pull an all-nighter. Yes, so 2:10. Now, the time's different. The time, yeah, I won't give too much. The time's a little different, but I will be watching. I'll know when it comes on, then I will get back on here. So everybody go eat. Everybody go have a grumpy, whatever you got to do, Red Bull, whatever. And we will reconvene after lunch. I will see you guys shortly. Yep, 2:10. See, thank you. Okay, I will see you guys then.